Hello there, I'm Miranda and this is Take a Moment with NCHC, the show where we talk to you and your colleagues about experiences that affect you. Listen on your drive between patients or in your downtime, whenever you get the chance to take a moment.
We're talking today about Margaret's experience of being a carer for her husband. If you've listened to the podcast before, you may have heard us talk about carers, but if you don't know what this means, let's start with a definition of being a carer. It's anyone who looks after a family member, partner, or friend who needs help because of their illness, frailty, disability, mental health problem, or an addiction, and cannot cope without their support. So, Margaret, tell me about your experience of being a carer.
Well, I would say it started about 6 years ago when my husband was rushed into hospital when we were on holiday. He had sepsis and pneumonia. And as from then, I had to spend time in a hotel next to the hospital to be with him for 10 days. Then we managed to get home. And it started then. That's when I actually sort of become an official carer for him, because he had the nurses come in, but he didn't want them. So I took over, taking him to the doctors, getting his medication, and, just doing everything that for him, really. So, but in fact, in the last possibly 2.5 years, I guess, he's had Alzheimer's, and since then it's really stepped up, obviously, because it's a completely different scenario now. Because Alzheimer's, he's a completely different person in lots of ways, which makes it difficult. Hopefully, I'm coping all right, and I've had some help, with a bit of respite this year, which is definitely amazingly brilliant, because that helped an awful lot. That's it in a little nutshell, I suppose, being a carer.
And how have you found that? Obviously, at the beginning, it must have been sort of different to how it is now. I guess it's evolved in that 6 years. Do you feel like you kind of know where you are with it now, or are you constantly coming up against new challenges?
Oh, definitely coming up with new challenges, because Alzheimer's is one of those, it's a thing that just gets worse rather than better, and there's always different things coming up. So there's always new challenges. Because at first, it wasn't particularly challenging as such, but now it definitely is. I take him once a week to the Julian Hospital in Norwich for a workshop, which has been absolutely marvellous. But unfortunately, it's come to an end in 2 weeks' time, because they only can, have so many patients in at a time, and they have to carry on for the next lot that need the help. But that's been really good, yes.
Do you have a support network? So you mentioned obviously a bit of respite there, but do you have kind of friends and family who you turn to as well for support?
No, I haven't. Apart from, Carers Matter have been really good, and social services, they're the ones who stepped in and helped with the respite, But otherwise, no, I sort of cope on my own. There have been times when I have definitely had bad times. I had the wellbeing service sort of stepping in and, giving me some sort of CBT, I think it's called, because I was getting really, really down, which is a horrible situation to get yourself in, but I did. But, I think hopefully I've come up the other side out of that. So hopefully, I can stay there.
It can be quite isolating, can't it, being a carer,
It
especially,
is, yes.
how do you feel about that?
Well, you haven't really got a life anymore. I know, okay, I'm nearly 76 now, but when you're getting older, and we used to go on holidays and really enjoy, but that's sort of really not possible anymore. We did go on holiday with friends. They said to come with us, and a month away, and I thought, oh, I don't know about that. And actually, they didn't actually realise until we got there, what they were taking on. And I think, yes, it wasn't the best idea in the world. But, your life changes completely, really.
Have you found that you've had to maintain a routine then, especially, I guess, with the diagnosis of Alzheimer's? Do you feel like that means you can't really have that respite? You can't go away and change the routine, go on holiday, for example?
Well, I do have a routine, obviously, but what we've been doing is having little hotel breaks, and just local, don't have to go far. And if you're not at home, it's just a little bit of a break for me. So we've done that quite often, and he quite enjoys that, and so far that's worked all right. And I know it probably, things are going to change, and probably won't be able to continue all the time, but that's what we've been doing, yes. Yeah, because for him to be with other people, a social scene as such, that is really, really beneficial, because being here on his own all the time is, or not on our own, is not the greatest, because then, his brain isn't getting working really, because he needs other people to be about, even if he's not really able to socialise like he used to, obviously, because we had quite a good social life before.
That must be really hard, I guess, in, not just seeing the decline in your loved one, but also that the loss of that partnership.
Yes, that is actually, yes. Yeah, but I suppose I've got used to it really now. It's, it's something that and I sort of think positively and think, right, there's a lot of people with much, much worse off situations. So you've got to just be positive as best as you can, really.
I think a lot of people listening might be saying, be well within your rights to feel very frustrated at times,
Oh,
very
God.
angry and, all of those emotions. I mean, how do you cope with that when you feel that way?
I don't sleep very well. That's one thing. It's affected my sleep. So, I don't sleep very well. But I'm coping. I think at the moment I'm coping quite good, I think. Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Have you had any particularly difficult sort of challenges in terms of your husband's care? When you mentioned having to go out to the hospital or to doctor's appointments and things, have you had any examples of where being a carer has actually been really tricky in those moments?
Well, I think before we got the identity card for the carers, that was more tricky because obviously we would go into the hospital and, and I would have to explain, I need to go in with him to his appointment because he won't remember and he won't tell me what I need to know. And sometimes, I would come up against, oh, well, we don't usually do that, and not always easy. I'm not saying they were anti-social about it, but it's not always easy. But, since I've had the carers card and I have it hang around my neck, they can see it and it seems a different scenario, which is very good actually.
Absolutely. Let's talk about it. So the carer's passport, we have mentioned this on a previous podcast before, but let's talk about it for anyone who doesn't know. So
Yes.
local NHS trusts recently collaborated with carers and local carer organisations to co-produce a carer's identity passport. It was launched in November 2022 via Carers Voice Norfolk and Waveney. And the idea behind it is to ensure that carers are recognised as carers and that they can get the help and support they require. So let's go back to when you first got the passport. How easy was it to get hold of one?
Very easy actually, because I do have connections with the carers matter. I was able to get it very easily, not at all a problem. And I have told other carers, the workshop I mentioned, I go to, a couple of other carers go, and I have told them about it because they didn't know about it. And I've, said it's a good thing to have, and I explained what I'm finding good about it. So it wasn't difficult to get hold of at all.
And you wear it around your neck as a lanyard, so it's
Yes,
really
it's on a lanyard.
prominent,
Yeah,
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 really
yeah.
visible.
Yeah, and I do notice because we have been to the hospital quite a lot well, in the last sort of months or so, and it was like 3-4 days in 1 week, and I thought, oh goodness, thank goodness I got this because otherwise I'd have to say, look, I need to stay with him, I need to come in with him, whatever. With that, that's accepted immediately. Well, I don't even have to say it mostly, so.
And that must be a bit of a weight off,
Oh,
to
it
not.
is. Yeah, because some consultants they'd prefer, oh no, would I rather have the patient in on their own? But then, then you have to say, like in front of my husband, to say, well, he's got Alzheimer's. Of course, he doesn't like me having to keep saying that. He doesn't like to hear it because, as far as he's concerned, he hasn't. Yes, yes, it's so much easier without having to do that. Yes.
So you can now use that in the hospitals. I know that they're working with primary care to ensure that the identity passport is recognised in GPs,
Mm.
which is great. So, when you have those experiences in the hospital, for example, what kind of difference has it made to your life, particularly as a carer?
Well, like I say, I don't have to sort of explain to the people that that why I need to go in with him and why I need to have all the information of whatever treatment he's having. So that makes it easier in that respect. And just being recognised, really. And I guess other people in in the waiting rooms, they probably notice it and realise, obviously, who are I'm a carer for him as well, and maybe that helps them to understand him if he should be inappropriate at any time. Because if it's a bad day, because people with dementia and Alzheimer's do have days where they're not quite the same as other days, and you go somewhere and then you think, oh gosh, was this a good day to come out, type of thing. So if you have that round your neck, yeah.
How do those bad days affect you in terms of wanting to go out and do it again?
Well, yeah, you think twice about it. But then you think, well, if you don't go out, then you won't ever go anywhere. So I mustn't let that happen.
Do you feel a bit like you have to keep a check on your mental health and your physical health because it can be quite physically demanding as well as mentally?
Yeah, Yeah, that
draining.
is absolutely so, because yes, I do have to. I never had to before, but I do, because I have also have some health issues, and I'm waiting to have an operation. Don't know when that will come, but it's quite a big operation, so I'm told 6 weeks. So I'm going to obviously not be here to look after him, and he'll have to go into a home. That's something that I sort of think, oh gosh, that's going to be a difficult scenario, but we'll just wait and see what happens when it comes up, I guess.
It's so important that you yourself, have a rest, have the chance to rest and look after
Yes.
yourself, because otherwise you make yourself ill and then you can't look after your husband. So it's so
No.
important. But you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, even things like the group that you're going to, the fact that that's stopping, do you think there could be more provision around just settings that you can go to be with other people?
Well, they did say there is actually, and they're going to tell us about it the last week. And apparently, there's the Nest in Norwich, which used to be the cricket place, I think. Apparently, we can go there, and they've got a similar sort of thing there. So we know if that's so, well, I would take him there once a week, because it has been really good. It's not been only good for him, but I've seen other people with dementia, in these 14 weeks we've been going, and you can see a difference in a few of them already, to be perfectly honest, and it's really, really good that they can get together and socialise and get to know each other, and good for us carers to get together and talk about our experiences with each other, and because everyone's different. This is the thing, it's always different, because nobody has the same symptoms and problems. They're all different.
And I guess it's nice to talk to people who are going through the same thing because they fully understand what
That's
you're
it.
going through.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Because my husband, like quite a few of them, and you wouldn't, when you meet him, you wouldn't actually realise there was anything wrong with him, most days, because he was a very intelligent man, and you wouldn't, but you have to live with a person when it starts to show.
Sometimes you take the rest, but then you have the guilt because you feel
That's
that you should be
absolutely,
with that
yeah.
person.
That's so true. Yes, yes, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, but you do. Yes, yeah. Yeah, because the thing is, as a carer, you have to do everything. I mean, I do all the driving, and of course, I didn't drive for a while. I had a heart attack 4 years ago, and I stopped driving, not knowing that I'm, going to be the only driver, or we had no driver. So I had to get back into it very rapidly. But I stay in my comfort zone. I don't go. Certainly wouldn't be going to London or anywhere. I just stay in my comfort zone. That works fine then. Yes.
Things that you might not necessarily feel like you would have to be doing,
No.
that now you have to almost teach yourself. Is there anything that you do that would normally be your husband's job, that you are
Oh,
having to take on?
oh gosh, yeah, lots of things like the garden, and things like the light bulb goes in the bathroom, and it's ones that are in the ceiling recess ones. And of course, I can't do that. I've tried, and he can't do any jobs anymore like that. So then I've having to pay someone to come in and do them, which is really, really tough, because it's nowadays they charge a fortune. When we were away, we had a roof tile slip, and our neighbour said, "Oh, one of your roof tiles slipped. You better get that sorted, because a lot of rain is coming." And I thought, "Oh dear, what do I do?" So I had to actually get a builder in, to do it, and lots, just any little jobs, which are what he would normally always do, because he's very clever like that. He can't do them anymore. So that is a big problem for a carer. I know, because talking to other carers, they have similar problems. Their husband can't do the jobs anymore, so they try and do it, they can't, or it doesn't get done. It just stays, like a leaky roof or whatever. Yeah, because that takes your time. That takes your whole energy just
Mm.
doing that. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some kind of handyman service that is
Mm.
slightly cheaper than, that you can rely on, and it's specifically for carers. That would be,
Yeah.
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I think they did used to have something like it, because in one of the carers' handbook, I did read about it, and I thought, oh, marvellous. But when I rang up about it, they said, oh, well, no, that's no longer. You have to go to this online thing where you get people to do jobs, and
Mm.
they're I can't remember what they're called, but anyway, but that was just what's open to everybody, so that wasn't really very useful.
Tell me more about the carer's handbook. What's that like?
Very good, actually. Yes, yeah, the carer's handbook. There's one come out every year, and get it in the library. Again, that's what I've given. I've given other carers I've met who didn't even know anything about them, and it tells you all about Carers Matter, and like I've joined that and have Zoom meetings with them. It's a really, really good, useful book. Tells you all about care homes also, that where they are and what they're like. Yeah, lots of information, about your finances as well, how to sort it out, for people in my position, and just what, I mean, I'm 76, but of course there are a lot of carers who are a lot older. For them, it must be even more difficult.
The carer's passport, what would you say to anyone who's thinking, oh, that sounds like me, I could use one of them? Would you encourage people to go and get one?
I would, yes, I would do. It's my own experience, I think it would be good for anybody else who is a carer to have one. I think they work, and it gives you confidence to have it on you, when you especially go into a hospital. It does give you confidence because, you're immediately recognised, and, you notice it's being looked at. You think, oh, well, that's good. They won't need to ask lots and lots of questions now.
Thank you for listening to Take a Moment with NCHC. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please visit the podcast intranet page to leave a comment and for details of our other episodes. You can also follow NCHC on all social media channels.